A principal who's in charge of the well-being and the education of children told an 8-year-old little girl this shouldn't be such a big deal over a little smack.
Kids are getting away with bullying each other now more than ever before. It's because from the top down, there are no real consequences for this type of behavior anymore. I'm sure I'll have plenty of parents arguing with me about how their kid's teacher did nothing to stop their kid from getting bullied in their classroom. But the sad fact is that the majority of teachers don't want to put up with that crap in their classroom either. Nobody wants to sit there and watch violence occur day after day in their classroom. But a lot of them know that when they take it up with the person in charge on campus, nothing's going to happen. Now, that's not going to stop them from reporting it or sending a kid to the office or writing them up for disciplinary action. But unfortunately, a lot of teachers just get to the point where they don't want to risk their job, or they don't want to deal with the headache of having to argue with their campus admin day after day. I'm with the parent in this video. I think that there is too much that's being done to kids who are trying to defend themselves and not enough to the kids who are instigating fights and instigating bullying incidences. But first of all, regardless of whether you agree with it or not, regardless of whether you think it is right or wrong, and I tend to be on your side on this, you need to understand that campus admin do not care who start the fights. They don't care who's bullying who. And it sucks. It really does. So you need to be teaching your kid that when somebody is bullying them, or somebody is trying to start a fight, or somebody inflicts physical violence, the worst thing that they can do is reciprocate that and not report the incident. I don't care how many times they think their teacher is ignoring them. They need to go to them day after day. It doesn't matter how many times it takes for that kid to complain about somebody bullying about them. They have got to keep going to the person immediately in charge of them in that room. And if the teacher in that room doesn't want to listen to them, go to the person next door. Go to their coach, go to their instructional aide, go to the dean, go to somebody, go to the nurse, go to the cafeteria lady, for all I care. The sooner you report bullying, the sooner there's going to be a paper trail on that kid, and the sooner there's a paper trail, maybe something is going to get done about them. But if you teach your kid to throw hands at their bully, the only thing that's going to happen is they're going to be sat right next to them at lunch detention, unfortunately. I myself know for a fact that there are zero consequences for these kids that are violent towards other students, because it's happened in my classroom. I've had to literally threaten to walk off the job if they sent a kid back into my classroom before. And you know what? A lot of teachers would rather risk making themselves look like they're not inclusive or trauma informed just to ensure that the kids in their class stay safe from other kids who want to hurt them on purpose. In the face of admin telling me, where do we send this child? There's nowhere to send them. You just want them to not come to your class anymore. I've had to tell them, yeah, I don't care where you send them, but they're not coming back in this classroom. Because I refuse to let a kid who just tried to give one of my other students a concussion the day before come right back into my class without seeing any consequences for that action. So here's what's happening on a regular basis in your child's classroom, which is very similar to what has happened to this man's child. The child gets harassed or bullied or injured in their classroom. They go to the teacher. They say, teacher, I'm getting harassed or bullied or injured. Please do something about it. The teacher says, oh, of course, I don't want that to happen to you. Give me a few minutes to get something worked out. They talk to that student, they do a write-up, they call admin, they get a dean to come pick them up out of the classroom to go have a talk or do whatever it is that they're supposed to do on that end after the teacher does the necessary steps to fill out the paperwork and write that student up for violent and bullied behavior. The bully student leaves the class because obviously that's the right thing to do, to not leave them in the class the very moment that they do something like that to another kid. They go to the office. They might get a little conversation, they might get a little lecture, they may even get a treat or a snack, and then they're either sent immediately back to class 5 minutes later, maybe sit out for the rest of the class period, maybe another day in school suspension, and then they are sent right back to that same classroom in the same environment of their victim. It's really frustrating as a teacher because you know that in that circumstance you are completely impotent to do anything for your child. You cannot get a schedule change for the kid that's being victimized. They refuse to do a schedule change for the child who's bullying their victim. And all the while, the kids that are third party to this situation in the classroom are being taught and are learning in real time that they have to abide their abuser and be in the presence of the person that is victimizing them. In this situation, when parents say that the school system is failing our kids, I absolutely agree, 100%. on your side all the way. And why are these kids being sent back to class? It's for a whole lot of reasons. It has to do with money. It has to do with the fact that they don't want to look bad to these other parents who are probably going to be even more belligerent that their bully child is being picked on. And if we're going to be completely honest, a lot of these campus admin are completely terrified to take any real actionable steps because they know that their hands are tied by the district code of conduct. They have a 3-step system. They have a tiered system that they have to follow. So if a kid does it 1, 2, or 3 times, you have to do X, Y, and Z before you can take them out of the classroom. How many times does an abusive spouse get to abuse their spouse before they are taken away from that spouse?